The Shenandoah salamander is named after this area. It is a species that lives on mountaintops within the park at high elevations. The species is rare. It's listed as federally endangered. The patches of habitat that the Shenandoah salamander lives in are small. You could walk through one of these patches in just a few minutes. It's cooler than the surrounding areas, the lower elevations, and as the climate warms, there's no place for these species to go. It's at the mountaintop already. They can't go upslope to cool off at this point. They can't migrate, they can't move anywhere. They're limited to those high elevation places within the park, and we're concerned about the fate of the species in the face of climate change.
National parks are some of the most beautiful places in the world, and they face some very unique problems. We at the Inventory and Monitoring Program have two primary duties. The inventory part is showing up and actually cataloging what is there. Monitoring is returning to those sites year after year to see if changes are occurring with those resources. Probably the most easy way to describe or define rocky intertidal or intertidal zones in general are they're the area of land between high water mark and the low water mark. So the way I think about it is that with these species living in this environment, every day they're kind of right on the edge. They're ecologically and behaviorally very close to always being near survival. And so any changes to that really can throw them off. Climate change brings with it a whole host of changes, everything from the temperature to sea level rise to increased acidification.
18.3, article. Okay. 18.6.
We get directly into the field to do the work. We use a mixture of techniques. Some of these are transect driven, where we're on our hands and knees moving down through the rocky intertidal at regular intervals, checking to see what that tape crosses, repeating that tape year after year. And what you're looking for is change, whatever the metric that you happen to be measuring is. So in some cases that can be biodiversity, it can be just species density, and in some cases this will be where the species are. The mission of the National Park Service really is to preserve unimpaired the natural resources. And that's an easy statement to make, but it really requires knowledge. And so the Inventory and Monitoring Program specializes in getting data and knowledge to help inform the decisions that are necessary to protect those natural resources.
Brook trout are a cold water species. They're a native trout. They're highly valued as a sport fish. They're the state fish of both Pennsylvania and New Jersey. If water temperatures get above 72 degrees Fahrenheit for any real length of time, they won't survive. Many of our streams in Delaware Water Gap we know are already during the summer close to that maximum 72 degrees. But they're still cold enough for brook trout. But if they warm up even a few degrees, that could spell disaster for the brook trout. That could eliminate them from many of these streams.
Here at Shenandoah National Park, in our freshwater streams, we're very concerned about rising temperatures, both air temperatures and water temperatures. And the reason for that is these are cold water, headwater streams that support macroinvertebrates, little insects and bugs, stoneflies, caddisflies. A lot of the aquatic animals we have and our fish need cold water. So because we're concerned about our fisheries, we regularly go into the streams and monitor the fish. That means we go in and find them, ID them, measure them, and we want to make sure we know if their numbers are increasing or decreasing, as well as if the diversity of fish is changing. Work like this is very important for a land manager to use. Fortunately, we haven't seen any losses in our fish, but we have seen some losses in our macroinvertebrates. And as we move forward with increasing temperatures, we want to know where some of those safe havens are. Where's the refugio? Where would a fish go if the temperature started to creep up? So we've partnered with the U.S. Geological Survey, and they're coming in and mapping out the locations within a stream of cold water seeps and springs. It's water coming from underground into the stream, and it provides cooler water. So it's actually bringing down the water temperature. That helps us identify what areas should be prioritizing for future protection But if we don't know where those are because we haven't researched and inventoried, we can't help our fisheries.
The highest elevations in the park host these rare ecological communities, some rare plants that are listed as globally imperiled, which means there are only a few portions of these left across the planet. Those same areas host species like the Shenandoah salamander, so a lot of our rarity is up high, at high elevations, and is at risk. We partner with the U.S. Geological Survey in monitoring the Shenandoah salamander because it is so rare and it's wholly within Shenandoah National Park. You know, our goal through this monitoring is to try to inform us, what could we do? Are there things that we're missing? So we can look at things that are important to protect the species for the long-term survival of the Shenandoah salamander. I think inventory monitoring is critical in national parks. We don't have a lot of data to tell us the long-term trends. And that's what national parks are about, the long view. If we don't have data sets that go across decades, we won't really understand the up and down fluctuations of a species, of a metric, and that's critical to have as a manager.